Hi, I'm Nick Williams with Medicare Millionaire, and I'm here today with Dave Duford of Final Expense Agent Mentor. Correct, David?
That is right. How you doing
Yes.
today?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me, Nick.
Well, today we're going to talk, let's see, politics, religion, and sex with Dave Duford. How's that?
You don't want to go there with me, man. It'll never come back.
How about we just stick to insurance?
Yeah, that's easy.
So,
relatively speaking.
So you're a busy man, Dave.
I try to appear that way.
Yeah, I see you everywhere, and as far as on all the platforms on the internet. So you're a hard worker, that's for sure. And I know we have a common client, if you will, and he had told me, and I really respect this about somebody such as yourself, that you were training him. And in that process, the day that you met with him, you didn't get the leads that you were supposed to have. And you ended up just grabbing some old leads, and you guys went out and sold some insurance and made some money. And I don't want to disclose his name on the internet, but anyhow, that's what I like to see in somebody that is a trainer, somebody that can actually go out and sell.
I do sell. I don't remember that age leap probably happened. I mean, I've trained agents since 2014. So there's probably been occasions where it's like, well, let's kind of improvise, on a whim.
I constantly am hearing leads, and products. What I really think in this, I guess in the sense of helping somebody become better, Dave, is that they should focus on training, sales skills. But what do you think about that contrast between people wanting better leads but applying themselves to better learning their craft? Well, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, good question. So I think this is how I train agents. So I think every agent should have a base level of understanding. So it's like the difference between academic and street smarts, right? Like you should have a basic academic understanding of what you're going to sell before you go run your first appointment. However, a lot of the lessons you'll learn are experientially based. It's funny, I was thinking, taking a shower today, you see these memes and posts on Facebook, like the smartest people learn from other people and the dumbest people never learn anything. And then like sort of smart people learn from mistakes they make. I don't think that's exactly right. I mean, I think some of the best lessons come from failures and mistakes. And I think it's kind of silly to overstate that, or to understate the importance of going out there and being willing to fail. Okay. Because there's so much reflective capability that's there to improve yourself on. And I say all this because I think learning this business is a lot more lengthier in time than for most people than they first look at it. But for me, when I'm taking an agent and they're like, I want to do this amount of production, I want to do this amount of business, I spell it out to them that in the vast majority of occasions I have seen, the biggest reason why agents struggle is because they're not doing enough of an activity-based metric. So let me give you a story from today. So I have an agent, his name is Jason. He's a good guy. He's got talent. He's got skill, but he's not closing enough. Okay. He's having difficulty staying profitable. He's breaking even at a bare minimum, but he wants to be very profitable. It's his first year, so he's just living off of advance money. He hasn't got his back end renewals yet. This is all final expense too for the audience out there. So we looked at his numbers. It's always the first thing I do. It's not what are you saying, how do you saying, and blah, 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 blah. It's looking at numbers first. He's buying 30 leads a week. He's closing 5 deals. Okay. Not enough. I want to see 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that range. It's slightly lower. And so why is he slightly lower? Well, he's closing about 45 to 50% of his presentations, which is good enough for final expense. But where his weakness is that he's only getting like 11, maybe 12 out of 30 leads booked as appointments.
So more appointments is his weakness in that instance.
Yeah. So the way I phrased it to him, I said, look, man, you sound like you're doing good enough. Could you be better selling? Could you be better objection rebuttaling? Sure. But there's the concept of good enough is good enough in this business that I think we need to embrace, because you run a business and there's different variables to that business that you can also improve, whereas sales skills is one of many. So for example, this is perfect. what we found out, or what I found out, I didn't realize, is that he is in a position where he has to be home at 3 or 4 to get his kids every day. His wife works odd hours, so he can't go out at night. So what does that mean? And final expense, there's a lot of people you're not going to see, including some of these retired people, until after 4 o'clock. So the solution is simple. It may not be the sales issues as being the primary problem. It's probably that you need to run more nighttime appointments. So the solution is get a babysitter, rearrange your schedule, work Saturdays or Sundays temporarily until you free up the time to work at night.
And perhaps
all you need.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but perhaps that one sale that you get would pay for that babysitter for the week.
Exactly. Yeah. Your babysitter is a cost of facilitating business that's profitable, right? It may be $100 to do it, but if that gives you, again, all this guy would need based on his numbers, if he could go from 11 appointments to 16 appointments, and he's closing about 50%, that's another 2, maybe 3 sales. And at his average commission, that's going to be an extra $1,200 to $1,500 a week. Okay. That's $5,000 to $6,000 a month. That's, 60 to 72,000 a year.
Yes.
Just because of 2 or 3 different sales and working a couple nights.
Yes. And do you think that the agents are scared? It's almost like they say burn the bridge behind you or burn the boats when you land. Do you think that's why a person wouldn't hire that babysitter, because they just don't believe, or they're scared, or they just don't have confidence?
I think your point is true. I don't know if we don't apply this to this particular agent of mine. I don't think that's his case. I just maybe he hasn't thought of that.
Yes, in general.
But in general, yeah, I think that I've done tons of interviews with top producers, and the thing that impresses me the most is it's not that they're more intelligent. It's not that they're necessarily even more capable. It's that they have more faith in themselves to take the leap of what is necessary for success. But the truth is there is a large risk associated for failure too. Like, what I would do in the perfect world with any agent that would come on, I would say, look, buy 50 to 60 direct mail leads a week. Of course, everybody would throw a clot because they start adding up the numbers, and we're talking 5, 6, 7,000 a month investment in leads, roughly. It's a lot of money for somebody who has no experience. So we can't, most people just don't have that mindset. We have to work them up to having that mindset. We have to build them up progressionally towards that. But a lot of the times people run into issues and problems, and they have setbacks, and they begin to have doubts. But you've got to find a way, in my opinion, the closer you can, there's always this between point A and point Z. There's all this stuff that can get in the way. If you can shorten the obstacles in the way, and it's all usually up in the mind, and shorten that process to execute to get to point B, the faster you'll get to your results. And if you fail, or if you have struggles, then take account to what they are and fix the problems as whatever they end up being. So I don't know if that's your question. It's a good question. I've thought about it a lot.
Well, I think that a lot of times with agents, the problem is that, and any salesperson, is their fundamental ability to sell versus the leads. And often you'll see the agent chase the leads. Like, I'm sure you've had more than one agent has come to you, gotten leads, and then maybe it didn't work out, and then they've gone somewhere else, or they've come from somewhere else where they've gotten a lead program, and then they've come to you, and then they move on to the next lead program, all the while carrying themselves with them. And so I would say that oftentimes they need to, they're looking for an excuse for something to blame when they do fail. And it's the leads or the program or the upline or something other than, hey, I just need to get better at selling. And one of the things that, and you tell me if this resonates with you at all, but I think that agents often are too uptight. Like, when you get to the door, it's, are you relaxed or are you not? And so is it a fluid presentation? When I say presentation, a fluid, just your presence and your ability to say hi and your ability when you sit down. But as far as being relaxed, how would you what would you tell an agent just how to get them just relax, just talk?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I think so. I'm an introvert. I don't. I talk a lot with one-on-one with people, but a lot of like what I am right now today in front of you is through retraining myself. So you have to. The best thing an agent can do to kind of answer your point about being relaxed is to just mimic somebody who's successful. And again, it goes back to the character traits of success. You've got to have humility and say, okay, maybe I'm not all knowing, and maybe I should change some things about what I'm doing in order to improve. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, like, there's going to be a level of nerves, Nick, that people have, and that's fine.
It's almost as like before you get on stage, every performer says they have butterflies.
Yeah,
but
sure.
when you get there, and I call it white knuckled. If you're too uptight and you have that look of, I call it the constipated look. When somebody answers the door, it's not going to work well. So I always, and that's a big thing to get people to just relax. And I've trained people who have been very smart. As a matter of fact, they can complete my sentences.
Right.
They can, and they're almost, I would say a lot of times they may present themselves better than me when we're sitting there interacting. They're much more fluid, but when they get to the door, it's a different story, and they can't even get in a house because even though they have an appointment, it's still, that person still makes a decision at the door. And if you look like a deer in the headlights, they're going to smell blood in the water.
Yeah, there are things that you cannot train as a trainer, and I see this in other applications. So, like for example, and it's funny. Like, this is a problem that you execute when the time comes. So I do jujitsu, I do self-defense, and you can sit on the mat and train submissions and escapes and things to defend yourself. But you're in a contained environment. You've got mats underneath you. You're not grinding your body against the ground. You're not out in public. You don't have the thrill of not excitement's the wrong word, but you're not in reality. It is a synthetic reality, just like a role-playing session is. It's not worthless. It certainly is helpful, but some people just can't execute when it comes down to it. They bite the bullet. Or perfect example, no pun intended, but great segue. Same thing with firearms training. You can sit there and be a great shooter, but are you going to pull a gun on someone and actually pull the trigger if they're trying to harm you or your family? That's a type of thing that, can you really train for that? I don't know. So I don't know. All you can do, I think, with an agent is take them through your training, show them what works, put them in a position to prosper and achieve and learn something that you have personally tried and done with other agents. And then it's up to them to execute, Is it going to be perfect? Is it going to sound anything like in role playing? No, that's okay. Again, make the mistakes. Figure out, record yourself.
I've always been more uncomfortable in role playing because I have my peers there. But when I get to the door, I'm kind of sort of more comfortable because nobody can see me screw up, and I can leave that house and never have to face that embarrassment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, forget her. I'll never see her again.
Yes. Yeah. I've done very few interviews, Dave. So you're, I believe, the second or third. And I did one with a recruiter and with the FMO, and he's a great guy and everything. I was going into the 80-20 rule, and I said, it's like 80% or even 90% of people are just going to fail. And there's really not much you can do. Yeah. Well, I didn't say that they're going to fail. I gave him the 80-20 rule as, and I kind of gave him, I threw it out there, and he was like, yeah, that's just the way it is. And so it's like, well, that's a terrible commentary, isn't it? It's like, yep, they're just going to fail. And it's like, well, how?
So there's a difference between the facts and like how you manage the facts to best play out in your odds. Like, my perspective is, 80-90% of agents are going to fail, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to expect 9 out of 10 of my agents to fail. or I
Right.
won't
You have to
hold them
make a
to a better.
difference, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. Like, so there are recruiters, and what they'll do is they'll operate like this. And this is your typical multi-level marketing where they just recruit everybody. And just, if you got a pulse, you're hired, throw them against the wall, see what sticks. Like, they're taught to basically just hire everybody because that's their mantra. It's a numbers game. And it is a numbers game, recruiting. But the problem is there's a percentage of those people that do fail out, that had they been in a different environment, had they had the right instruction, the right lead system, coaching, the variables, that they could have been successful. Some people are just going to be successful no matter where they be. That's certainly true. But there's a percentage that will perform if they have the right construct. And that's why I say, yeah, on one hand, most agents fail. But on the other hand, there are things that you can do to give yourself the best chances of success. It may not guarantees, but to at least give yourself the ability to say, hey, I've given, if you do fail, at least you fail out in a blaze of glory. You know, you've done everything possible to succeed and it just didn't work.
I think that in my experience, I've had agents who have changed everything and I've seen it happen just almost overnight, where they just kind of got over it. And I've actually been out with agents where they've seen where it's just like you can go into a home and talk to somebody just as if it's the guy that you talk to, your neighbor, and then they're like, oh, I get it. I just talked to somebody, instead of being stuck like I need to impress them. I need to show them that I know everything. I need to show them that I'm a professional. And then they get all uptight. And I think that's where I know I've made a difference for agents, and where it's like, just relax, you know? And when I go in, I always tell the agents when I'm training an agent, I say, look, I'm the play-by-play guy. You're the color commentary. And I also tell them, like, I'll order you out to my car to get me something just for the effect, you know? And so when they see this, they see it play out and they're like, oh, okay. You know, I get it. And it's like, I'm enjoying it. And I tell them to go out and get my bag. And then I'll come back and I'll say, well, go out and get my charger or something. And then I'll laugh and the client will laugh and we'll be like laughing at them, but they'll be in on the joke.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, that's my gopher, you know, and, but so they see it and they relax. And I just, you know, when I see these agents, I said, I just want to tell them, just relax, for goodness sakes. And that would make all the difference in the world.
So
go ahead.
Let me add in something here. Just some thoughts I've been having. You know, it's funny, as you progress through any career or skill, your perceptions on things simplify or change. And one of the things one question all salespeople ask is, should you follow a script? There are people who are good at this business that say yes, likewise that say no. And what I've realized is that what a script is the conclude. And I'm saying this because how do you manage it? Like you're saying, how do you teach an agent to go through a sales call to be relaxed, to be successful? There's part of that, I think, that's nerves. But the other part that people have to understand is that a script is a culmination of years of experience from people who have been successful before them, and likely in different markets with a different variety of people. And the culmination of a script is all the psychology and all the success that's been had using this particular strategy. And the best thing a new agent can do is understand that. It's never really explained. It never was really explained to this like me, but you don't know as much as the people who are experienced do. You have to humble yourself to that. And you have to understand that a script is the pathway. A script from somebody who knows what they're doing, that's successful, that has other people successful. A script represents the pathway to success. And part of the problem people are having by being too uptight is they're not confident. And if the script is explained in the right way, to say, hey, follow this script word for word. Once you've done it a bunch of times, you'll start to naturally change the verbiage to sound more like you.
Right.
But this script is how you become confident. This script is how you become relaxed, because it is the pathway to getting sales, to seeing success, to helping people, of which all will be kind of like a closed loop phenomenon. You're going to get more confident. You're going to be more successful when you make sales, and you're going to relax more because you're competent. You feel confident.
Now,
So,
Dave,
mhm.
would you, okay, previously in our conversation, you said that an agent would be like a good agent, an agent that is perhaps confident is going to come in and spend $5,000 to $7,000 on that batch of leads and get off and running. Would it? Does it ever make sense? Or, and I just want to understand correctly what you do, or and how you do it, and how you train your agents. Would it make sense for an agent to take a bunch of bad leads and just go out there and like, hey, just find your footing and without spending so much money up front, and just kind of run through, like spend a week or two or three even, they'll
Did you
probably
say
make,
bad leads or age leads?
I would say, I don't know. With mine, it would be like with the way I would teach somebody, it would be like maybe even door knocking. Like I'm in a little bit different arena than you,
Sure,
more
sure.
Medicare. So I might say door knock turning 65, or here's some old Medicare supplement leads. Just go knock on the door.
Yeah, here's my perspective. Most people entering this business had to make money yesterday. This has been my experience, maybe different for you. And so I have a short window of time to facilitate some sort of success, typically a month to 3 months. I'd like somebody to come on with 50 grand in the bank. They don't need to make money for 6 months, even though they could make money within the first month if they do everything correctly. But having that kind of like time's the problem in this business of recruiting, because you don't have a lot of it. And you want people to get as quickly as possible out the gate, writing business, being successful. Because the more time that goes by that they're not successful, the more time that doubt creeps in, and they start second guessing, and they start going through this, this vicious cycle. So to answer your question,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
answer your question, no. When I recruit agents, I want them to have the best odds of success. I want them on fresh, exclusive direct mail leads or fresh Facebook leads, exclusive. Sometimes we'll have agents do seminar marketing. That can be effective if money's tight, but will is there. But if I have somebody who's like, Dave, I got $500, it's all I've got, I'll just tell them, look, this business is always going to be here. What I don't want you to do is start this business, do it for a week or two. Because what happens with people that have that money, they have even less time. If they go buy a batch of bad leads or age final expense leads and they don't sell anything, they're pissed after a week or two, even though I told them to expect them that. And they may get out of this business with a bad taste in their mouth. So I'll just tell them, look, go get a part-time job, make some money, save up a couple of $1,000 so you can give yourself the best opportunity to be successful. Not that any of those age leads are bad. I just want to take a new guy with no experience, no understanding of the business, who is his most vulnerable, and only put him in a position of absolute opportunity on his side.
I
Doesn't
mean,
mean
this
he's
is
going to
interesting,
succeed.
Dave. I mean, it's interesting that because just the contrast,
Mhm.
in the way that I might think and the way that you might think, it's just a very interesting thing. And
Yeah.
you and
Oh,
I
yeah.
have had a conversation before, and we differ in the ways that we do it, but it's and I just find the contrast very interesting. Now, are you able to get out and sell anymore, or that's something that's in the past for
Yeah.
you?
I feel train new agents that are interested.
Yeah. Now, as far as your past, okay, you started. Were you successful right out of the gate, and how, or
Yeah.
what did you have to overcome? Just, and I want to give this
Sure.
in the context. I want the people that are watching to listen, because you are an extremely successful. We're an extremely successful final expense agent. So again, tell us how your beginning was and how it worked out, and again, what difficulties you may have had.
Sure. Thank you. So I started in 2011. I had a personal training business at the time. So I started final expense part time. By the way, I think that works very well for agents that want to do this but don't want to give their jobs up. So I started with a pretty well known IMO, and just started working leads. I was getting like 10 leads a week for the first 4 months. I imagine they were throttling it just to kind of see what I would do. And I wrote a little bit of business. I think I probably wrote 8 or 10 deals off of 40 to 50 leads is what it came out to be. But I was like, hey, I can do this. Great. That's all I needed was some confidence. Then they upped the lead flow. Did okay my second and third months, did really well. I decided after that I was going to shut down my business, my personal training business. It was already kind of going down the tubes anyway. And then it told the IMO to ramp my lead flow up. I told him, I said, I got to go up to 30 leads a week. I understand this business. I see what it is. I like it a lot. It's fun. I can do it, but I need more leads than just 10 or 15 a week. So the first adversity point I had is that September, the IMO didn't give me any leads except a few straggler leads from the last territory. I'd given them a new territory, and I was like literally dying on the vine. And it so happened to be that the guy that managed the leads for this IMO said, oh, whoops, I forgot you had Bradley County, Tennessee. We've got like 90 leads there. I'm going to start sending them over. I was like, shit, man, you know, I could have used those like literally as they were fresh. Now they're a month old. And that was the first problem. Worked through those and then got to the end of the year. And December was a light month for me, but I could see again, the lead flow issue was coming around again. They weren't going to get me my leads. And again, as you guys know, it doesn't matter what kind of, you know, face-to-face sales you do, you Medicare, final expense, you got to have leads. You got to have people to see. And without them, you're going to struggle. And so that was the last straw. If an IMO can't satisfy the basics, then it's time to look elsewhere. So I left them, went to another one.
In essence, Steve, I hate to interrupt you, but yeah, basically you said they forgot about you in essence.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably a sincere, it was probably a sincere mistake, but
but they did forget about you.
Yeah, but the thing is that when you join a marketing organization that provides leads, that is one thing they cannot drop the ball on.
Yes.
Okay. If they do, if let's say lead flow is slow, then they've got to have alternate options, a plan B or a plan C. Like if for my agents, if you're getting direct mail and if we have an off week, we can put an order of Facebook leads in and have whatever more you need within 2 or 3 days. It's a good system. So we can fill the gaps. So that's my point.
Yes.
Is that they didn't do that. And the thing is I have learned one thing I've learned being in business since I was 21, 22 out of college. I'm 34 now. And I was talking to my wife about this house we're looking to buy, and it's not going to go through. It's kind of fishy. Is to trust your gut. You always trust your instincts. Like your gut, your stomach is like literally connected to your brain. And like evolutionarily speaking, like there's this connection, like the trust your gut thing is real. And if you don't think something is right, and if you get this suspicion that your arrangement is suspect, but you don't have all the facts, you're probably right still. And it's probably good to listen to your instincts. It's a survival mechanism. Anyway.
So if somebody says, after you contract, we'll give you the special sauce. It's like, I think you'd be suspect, right?
Yeah. Well,
I've heard this.
I think so. I think this day and age, the one great thing about social media, and the only reason I'm successful at recruiting agents online is because I bought in early on that you give away almost everything. It was weird. I remember the first video I did, or the first thought about me doing videos was like, I saw one of our competitors who has a YouTube channel. He put out a video and I was like, why is he giving away so much of his information? I was like, he's crazy, man. Like he's literally giving away most of what he would teach or what you would teach agents. And then that was like the devil on my shoulder. And then the angel said, oh, but that's it, man. If you give away everything, people will know you. They'll get to appreciate what you're saying. You'll become a trusted expert, and you won't recruit everybody, but there's going to be a certain group of people that will want to deal with somebody that's entirely, utterly transparent about everything.
And I would add there, Dave, like you do put out a lot of content and it's very impressive. And I know you're a hard worker, and I want to ask you a little about that, but
sure.
That somebody would just try to look at the content and figure it out would probably not be successful as it would that they join your organization, because that you can give it to them in a progression that is more logical instead of video and stuff. And I think big videos are there to let somebody know that this is, and somebody can get on a like a playlist or something, and and follow a track, so to speak, but to really put it all together, to sign up with you.
Let me, I've been thinking about doing a YouTube video on this, but I'm not sure how to phrase it. So like there's a paradox with YouTube. There's a paradox with information. it's like too many choices yields confusion, which yields inaction or doubt. So there's something to be said. Like I've got a book over here. Gosh, what's the guy's name? He used to own Aetna, American Continental. He's in his 80s now, but he started in the insurance business because he answered one ad in the paper. They sold one product like health or indemnity door to door. They didn't have any leads. It was just go knock on doors. It was so simple. And there weren't like 20 different marketing organizations recruiting him. And like he had to go make it work because he was impoverished, right? He was poor. And now he's like filthy rich. And I guess me saying this is like, information is good. Like I know my videos do good things, but you hit the nail on the head when you said, the thing is the big problem when you've got a lot of information is how do you organize it in a way to effectively improve your skill set? My videos are best used as a marketing tool to get people to be turned on to Dave Duford and what he does, and to teach something for sure. But the thing is that ultimately what I'm trying to do is recruit agents. I'm helping people, but
yes,
I obviously have an agenda to recruit agents as well. It's just not so stark, naked, ridiculous. But yeah, because the thing is that in my opinion, to sell something successfully, you need to have a focused arrangement of trainings, a focused arrangement of things, and then also have somebody to call on to help you out, to help you answer. So,
and often it's just somebody can speak to you from time to time,
right,
to tie it together,
right,
and basically it's almost something where they go, oh, okay, thank you. The information was there, but that you can just say, yes, you are correct in the way that you interpret it. They go, okay. It's a sigh of relief.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a big thing is that in a sense, a lot of I would say 90 to 95% of my training is on YouTube, but I've got 1,000 videos.
Yes.
And I've got more videos than you have time. So in a sense, the value proposition is let's sort through what your options are. Because it's not just me, it's you, it's other people that do what we do. It's sorting through the people, the noise saying telesales is better than face-to-face or this is better than that. And let me just tell you what to do and follow my directions. Like, and to have a leadership type of position to say, do this, don't do that. Here's the steps you take, don't do that. That's where I think ultimately information on its own fails because it's not complete. It's kinetic energy. It's just there to be something, but to take it and put it into action, that's what matters the most. And for most of us, we need help in making that happen. And I'll add this real quick. I don't mean that this is something I've really been thinking about. I never know. This is good for me to kind of talk to you about it, to kind of air my words, but this is the same problem in all industries. It's like, again, I don't mean to bore you guys with jiu-jitsu, but there are tons of jiu-jitsu instructional videos on submissions, escapes, sweeps, different positions, but you don't actually learn anything on these videos. The only way you learn is by getting in the field and doing, or getting on the mat and wrestling or rolling and applying the teaching. And plus, a lot of the stuff you see on video may not actually be done by people who have any concept of really how to apply it. It's because they're just putting it out to get subscribers, which in a sense we all are kind of doing. So yeah, it's a problem that you just got to be aware of. It doesn't mean that it's useless. It's just a thing that's just innate that you have to.
I've used the analogy. I was an electrician in the Navy, and I went to school and we learned electromagnetic theory. I learned all this, how to operate all this fancy equipment. And then when I went to a ship, I could barely fix a light, a light. I mean, it's just like, so it's the application that matters and actually doing it. Okay, I want to change the subject a little bit.
Sure.
Would you, or do you have written goals? Like, I need so many units, or would it be advisable, or would it make sense to focus on goals of activity? Instead of saying I need 100 sales, and I know you can work it backwards, could you just say you know what? Just get out there and work these leads every week and let the chips fall where they may and keep trying to get better and better and better. But what are your thoughts on that?
So goals. I think agents should have daily metrics for achieving whatever it is that they want to achieve from a production standpoint. They need to look at their annual goals. Let's call it 100,000 net income. They need to look at and then break it down to monthly, weekly, then daily. And then from there, take out so let's say you got your dollar amount, then you got to equate that to the activity amount. So like, let's say you just door knock, right? Well, okay, you just door knock your leads. Well, how many door knocks do you have to make a sale? Well, then let's say you have to make 3 sales a day to get the 100,000 a year if you're working 4 days a week, whatever. I'm just pulling numbers out of the ether.
Sure.
That means that 3 sales a day and you need 8 door knocks. You need to door knock 24, 25 times a day. So what I've done is I've basically deconstructed a large, seemingly impossible goal to somebody who's never achieved it, but broke it down into daily activities that anybody could do. 25 stops at a house, 25 different stops at 25 different houses. That's all you have to do. And now the secret sauce to that is just to keep doing it despite the outcomes. Nick Frumkin is a guy who I've interviewed before, and he shared with me a good phrase to look at this. It's, you can't control the outcome, but you can control the process. You have to be a process-oriented person. And the more that you can break things down to daily activity-based goals, then you'll find that the outcomes eventually follow suit. You know, you can do everything right in this business and still not make a sale.
Now, does it make sense though? If somebody were to, okay, if you just got a new agent were just to focus on just the activity, does that make sense? And I say this because there are schools of thought where it's like, just focus on the activity. The end will take care of itself, instead of looking at this target up here. Because what happens, okay, what I see happen is people will get off target and then they'll get antsy and they'll get frustrated and then they'll be like, I'll never make it. But instead, just focus on the daily activity. But anyhow, so I'm just digging down a little bit deeper.
Sure. I just think, so the secret sauce of this is the consistency. Because the thing none of us will ever promise is there will be no adversity. Like I was saying a minute ago, you can do 25 knocks in a day and have 0 presentations. I remember one day I went out in black pants and a white button down. I looked like I was a Jehovah's Witness or something. Nobody answered the door. I figured I never wore it again after that. But in all seriousness, I did like 21 knocks and nobody answered the door.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there were days when I did half that and had crazy production. So the point is I can't tell you what the outcome is going to be based off of the activity. What I can say is that consistent long-term execution on a daily basis of said activity will result in a modulation or regulation you'll begin to see the outcomes on a more consistent basis, but not necessarily week to week, even month to month. You can have bad months in this business. But the last thing I'll add here, this doesn't mean you should be a dope or you shouldn't prepare to speak to the client in a nice way and go through a process of a strategy to sell. That definitely is important. I don't look at sales training as closely until an agent has dialed in his activity, at least consistently for a couple of weeks. Because inadvertently, we can spend so much time trying to figure out some objection rebuttal technique. But if they're seeing 3 people out of their 20 leads in presentations, it's a presentation problem. It might be an objection rebuttal problem, but if they had 3 times more appointments that week and they hit their numbers that they should have, they probably wouldn't be as depressed because they had 3 times the production, 3 times more opportunity to make sales. And some of these people will just flat out buy if you just see enough people. So that's why I think activity for me is the big thing, first of all, to solve and get down, and then do sales training.
It sounds like that when you started, from what you say, it wasn't hard for you to sell. Is that correct? In other words, it seems like you just signed up, basically, you understood the concept and you were able to go out and be successful in selling.
So I, as a personal trainer, I sold packages
Yes.
of personal training. It was a lot different. I was qualifying people over the phone. I'd let them know what the price was. I'd book them to come see me in my office. I would do a routine scripted sales presentation. We'd take them to the mat, do some exercises, talk about goals, and then I'd close 3 out of 4. Totally different, because in any other insurance, most of us, we've got to go get them. We got to go track them down. We got to get in their house. We got to close them. So there's a lot more front end, footwork to make this happen relative to that. I remember some early on calls I did where they were just cringe,
Yes.
I remember one couple down in Trenton, Georgia, and I think I said some rebuttal. I said, did I do something wrong? It was like my objection rebuttal. I don't understand why you wouldn't buy this. Did I say something wrong to you? I was like, oh, looking back, I'm like, God, but that's
right.
But that adversity, that initial difficulty was the impetus to start looking at people like Tim Winders, adapting his sales presentation to ways that I liked, and then combining kind of what Andrew Fike does. He was my trainer that I started with, and then coming up with a process that worked for me.
Do you find that typically you just go through the process and it just closes because you have studied your craft, because you are effective and you understand and you've listened. So now you get to the end and it's just basically you're telling them what to do. Do you find that there's a fight at the end often? Because I don't. I find that if you do everything right up front, you don't really need all those fancy closes. As a matter of fact, sometimes I feel like, you're probably better off, sometimes not making the sale because it's probably going to lapse on you. But what do you say to that?
My father ran he started by himself. He had like 300, 400, 500 people at a lot of them salespeople. They're in a chemical business. And he said to me a long time ago, years ago, he said, basically, Dave, sales is just about overcoming objections. And when I went to sell Final Expense, I believe that's true, but I took it a step farther, and I believe that sales is about overcoming objections before they become an objection. So a thoughtful sales presentation will understand what the most common objections are: price, quality of coverage, bank drafts, health, need, want, and will manufacture in questions and pre-qualifications tactics to overcome those doubts that would otherwise come down at the very end if they weren't addressed. So take, for example, the budget question. How much is this going to cost? So a lot of agents won't talk about price. They're scared to talk about price because it may dismantle the deal. So they save it to the very end. But you may have gone through an entire sales presentation. They couldn't afford it, or maybe what they had in mind, they can't afford, they're frustrated, and they decide just to put it off. I would rather address it as early on as possible. And so what I do is within the first 10 minutes is I ask them, hey, if I can qualify for a program today, can you afford $80 to $100 a month? And if they say no, I back it down to 50 to 75, and I have some scripting that goes along to get the price. But the point is, I don't even proceed to talk about how the Final Expense program works until I've got a price commitment. Because when I go to actually offer them what they actually qualify for, I can show them the exact range they gave me. So they can object to the price because they told me so.
Now, with the Final Expense, where the typical, Final Expense is a secondary product for me and my mom. Right. And I always tell agents, stick around the $50 mark. That way it sticks. But what does the expert say? The Final Expense expert, what is the premium amount? Is there a range you should say, hey, this is safe? But how do you
good question,
your agents?
Whatever's easily affordable. Now, here's the thing. I know you work different clients than I do. My Final Expense prospects are akin to a Medicare Advantage D-SNP type. Okay, they don't have money grown out of a retirement account. They've just got a check every month. A lot of them have federal benefits to accommodate and subsidize them. So for me, my concern is I want to not have a lapse. I care more about a policy sticking, even if it's slightly less than what I would like it to be premium wise, than overselling it and losing it. There's psychological damage that comes from lapses. and agents should work to avoid them. So what I teach agents is to get an easily affordable premium, but what I don't want you to do either is lose big deals. Like, have you ever sold, I don't know how you close final expense, but we'll show a good, better, best. Like, here's a 30, 40, 50.
Yes.
If a client clicks the 50, okay, I can't help it but to think, well, shit, I should have showed a 60 or 70, you know? So what I teach agents is you've got to get your final expense prospects to understand that we respect their budget. I've got a whole script that does this. To get them comfortable that we're not there to take their money, but then ask high. So then after I do my thing, I say, if I can qualify for a program, can you afford somewhere between 80 and 100? If you really got chutzpah, ask, if I can qualify you for a program, can you afford $150 to $200 a month? That will really blow a lot of final expense prospects' minds. Yes. And most won't say yes, but occasionally you'll get one that says yes. And even if you don't, you can just rest assured you can back it down to 100 to 125, then 75 to 95. And it's likely that you'll hit upon the highest, most comfortable budget within that script, as opposed to just giving an arbitrary number like $50.
Now,
so
yeah, that's a very good breakdown, because often I will say that just $50.
Yes.
I feel like I've been corrected here, Dave.
Yeah, no. Well, so here's what happens, man. Like, one of the things I saw forever is, and I see it now, like, again, if you're a final expense agent, you see this, probably see this in Medicare. It's like, why are half of my leads already have insurance and I'm here? These people should be calling their old agents up and buying more from them. And so it dawned on me, like, if they're buying more, it potentially could have been the circumstance that they could have bought more earlier on. Not always. So for me, I just don't want another guy in the house, because you know what happens when another agent comes in the house? He may try to roll that final expense plan into the brand new plan and try to offset you. So I want to be the only guy in the house. So I want to make sure that if there's any opportunity, I maximize that opportunity. And even if it's $10, I'll take that, because it's activity with me. I want as many policies on the books. I don't really care what premium I get them for, as long as I insure people who need coverage at a price they can easily afford.
And I have been in homes where I've sold insurance, and then I've come back the next year, or maybe 2 years later, or 3 years later even, and they bought more insurance.
Can I tell you a real quick story? Okay,
sure.
So check this out. My dad, short stint, sold insurance with me, and he wrote a $450 a month deal, 25 grand with an 84-year-old. And he told my dad, come on back next year, I might be interested in more. Well, Dad left the business by then. And he told me at my grandma's funeral, go call Mr. Jones. It's not his name, but anyways, I called him up, and I kind of pre-qualified him. We live 5 hours away, but I'm going to go 5 hours for pretty kick-ass commission. So he's like, yeah, I guess that's all right. $500 a month. I was like, great, I'll see you tomorrow. So I drove down and wrote him up, and I wrote him with a company, maxed out the coverage about the same price. And I was happy with that. And I didn't think sell more, because like, I'm happy with this. This guy's like 85 now, I should be happy. Well, he ended up buying like literally another like double the coverage, like another literally close to 10,000 in premium.
But not from you.
Me. From me. No, from me. Thank God. Because he had asked me. But then I had a client from years ago. I wrote a 225 Foresters on. And I called him the next year, and he said, yeah, I ended up buying a Baltimore Life guy from a guy on the phone for $250. Like, shit, man, I sell him.
I know.
And then I came back to him. I came back to him 2 years ago, and I sold him more. So this is what I mean is, like, people have the capacity to buy more than you think. And so I want to let them buy as much as they can get without disillusioning them. Like, I don't want to offend somebody by saying, I can't afford $100 a month.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the point. Get what you can that they can reasonably afford.
Now, do you get into the replacement business? And when I say that, like reduced paid up policies and all that, and that type of stuff?
I've never done a single one in my life. I've seen all these. Yeah, I've seen all these videos and Facebooks about people who take these high cash value plans. Like, I just don't see that stuff. I do replacements when it makes sense for the client, but
Yeah.
it's overpriced coverage recently taken out, but not high. Like, I never see that. I've never seen that. It's just weird because I see it. I'm like, really? I mean, that sounds like a cool strategy, but
Yeah.
I've run into one guy that had, like, I remember in Middle Tennessee with 10,000 in cash value, but most of the time it's like nothing that would approach that kind of strategy where you
Yes, interesting.
leverage that. Yeah.
We're running down on time, Dave. Let me ask you something. Do you have any golden rules for your business? Just things like principles that you feel that other people could benefit from, or that have been important to you over the years?
Nothing. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, basic principles. Like, I've heard people say, at the end of the day, make sure you've cleared your desk. It might be that,
Oh, yeah.
or just whatever, like some guiding principles of yours in your business that could help others.
Have short-term amnesia. Tomorrow's a new day kind of thing. Like, that's one thing I've always done well, is like, after a crappy day, I'll get up and I'm all right, man. I'm ready. I've just been really good about that. Like, I don't hang on to my problems as much.
It seems as though you just take care of business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I just don't let problems manifest. Like, you had a bad day. It's like, think of basketball players that don't do well, or golf. Think of Tiger Woods, man.
Yes,
He came back
right.
and he had a rough run, but like, that didn't, maybe it psychologically crushed him for a while, but eventually he overcame it. That's the thing. He's kept showing up.
Yes.
Just keep going to work.
Yes.
Other things like, pack your lunch, take care of yourself too, man. Like, the one thing I don't like about this business is, like, the people who've been in it a long time. Again, please out there, don't take this the wrong way, but this business has such a propensity to give you a lifestyle and good income and freedom, but people don't take care of their bodies. They don't take care of their physical health, and they end up in positions to where they suffer early in life. Because this business, all you do is sit and drive and think about For me, it's thinking about eating or drinking something. And, like, that's bad. So you need to make sure you take care of yourself just as much.
Yes.
And so you have the health to enjoy it long term.
I had said in a video that I made just the other day, I said, if you go to the door and you're not comfortable with your appearance, that's going to affect things as well. And I said, like, if you have a problem with your weight or something, and it could come across, just as you said, you don't want people to take it the wrong way, that I could be say, well, if you're overweight, that's, like, almost like an attack, but it's not. And, and even if you are a bigger person, that you psychologically, are like, hey, that's just the way it is. That's the way I roll and whatever. But, but I'm healthy because I work out, because I take care of myself, so I think, it's like some people get that slovenly mode,
Well, to me, it's like, why would you spend this is not an easy profession. Most people fail. It's very hard.
Yes.
And for those people who are successful, the thing you'll eventually get to, hopefully, is that a good portion, if not all of your income, will be passive. And this business affords you to enjoy a lifestyle. It enjoys you to, with enough time and effort, to do things that normal people can't do, that don't even understand, like the freedom that you get. And the thing is, what I just don't want people to do is, and I see it a lot, that's why I'm making point, is they just get unhealthy. And why cut yourself short? There's so much stress.
Also, Dave, I'll add in there, when you take care of yourself, you feel stronger.
Yeah.
And that translates into strength when you're sitting down talking to these people. I mean, if you feel better, you're standing stronger. And this goes for women too.
Sure.
That, it's like, you're stronger, you feel better. And that all plays in. And I would say that type of stuff would would play in more for the person who struggles a bit. If you struggle, you better make sure you've got all these other ducks lined up. You better be taking care of your body. You better be eating right. You better be making sure you sleep. You better not hit that alcohol. You better not, all those things. Because again, if you're marginal, those are the things that may make the difference.
Sure.
And, David, do you have any suggested readings for somebody? Like I reflect back on Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and I say, man, if you just read that book and just digest that book, and the theme I take away from it is the perseverance of it. And I don't know if you remember the story from Napoleon Hill's book, but his son was born without ears. Do you recall this story?
Oh yeah. Right.
And he became successful selling hearing aids.
Right.
And it's just like amazing. but I just reflect back on that when I think of things being difficult. And I'll tell you, I'll throw one more in, and I actually put this in a video the other day. No, I cut it out. Paul Stanley, the singer from Kiss, was born without a right ear. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
It's amazing.
Who's Kiss? Some old people band, right?
Yeah. But they just played in Greenville the other day, and a good friend of mine, an insurance agent guy, he went and saw them. But what books, what reading do you say, well, this could be impactful? Take this and digest this if you're struggling a little bit. Maybe it can make a difference.
So first of all, I can't help but to thank you for your layup for my conveniently placed books behind me.
Yeah, there you go.
So in all seriousness, though, so I really... So the one thing you can do, if you go on YouTube and you put David Duford books, I've done probably less than 5 videos on books that I've reviewed. I went on a book kick a year ago. I read a bunch of books and did a bunch of reviews. There's all sorts of different directions you can go. You can go the mindset route. Mm-hmm. You can go the technical training route, like insurance sales books, like mine and others as well.
Yes.
Or stuff that's tangentially related to like mindset, skill development, that kind of thing. I like Napoleon Hill. I think his book was good. It's a lot of theory, but here's one I'll tell. Randall Baskin, that's his name. So if you go on to Amazon.com and you go put in Randall Baskin. It's down here somewhere. I won't waste your time looking for it, but Randall Baskin insurance book. It's not a lot of people have read it, but like what Randall Baskin did is he took Napoleon Hill's theory and he put it into action. So Randall's life is essentially Napoleon Hill's theory realized. To me, that was way more impactful than reading Napoleon Hill, because you could see how a poor
Randall Baskin,
poor guy from the countryside of Tennessee, living in a dirt floor shack with a crazy mom, came from nothing to substantial, incredible success. It is the literal American rags to riches story. Also, W. Clement Stone, combined, he is also. There's an interesting story with him and Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was broke at the end of his life. And W. Clement Stone hired him on as a sales trainer to train his people, and again, W. Clement Stone, there's books he's written where his training is essentially Napoleon Hill actualized. Like, I'm more of an applied physics guy. If you've done courses on like chemistry or physics, you get like the academic side, but then if you do the applied chemistry, it's like the actual what happens in the real world when you do this and the interactions that happen. Like, to me, that's the most impactful. So I would look at certainly Randall Baskin's book. I know a lot of people won't agree with me here, but I really liked A.L. Williams' coach book.
Right. Yeah.
I am not.
Well, he's a legend.
He is a legend.
I mean, he built a company that from scratch.
Yeah.
Just like W. Clement Stone.
Yeah, that's right.
And when I was recruited into this business through A.L. Williams, I never worked for them, but that's how I got the taste for the business. So
it's a great, that book was really good, and it's written in A.L. Williams' tone. You can hear him coming out in the book. It's probably 300 plus pages, but it's from start to finish. And again, a lot of people don't like A.L. Williams. Primerica is what they eventually became, but but that's not the point. If your critique of and I'm the first to critique the product, but it's not the product. It's as much as how one man created basically. I mean, he essentially
revolutionized the industry,
as far as a primary product, and brought term into such popularity.
Yes.
I mean, it's incredible what he did, and whether you like it or not.
Yeah, he changed the industry.
Yeah.
And I remember when I started selling, the company I worked with was Midland National Life Insurance.
Yeah.
And we had a product that was like the A.L. Williams Buster. And it actually had, the Ghostbusters, the red circle with the line through it. And it had A.L. Williams.
That's funny.
So it was the A.L. Williams Buster.
Yeah. Which is funny. As soon as he was ousted out of Primerica, they never had. He was a one-man force. Like just the amount of agents he recruited. Yeah, it's incredible. It's never even touched that level ever again at Primerica or really there's just a huge influx through the 80s. It's a really good book. So you guys should read that.
It's interesting that you bring that up because not many people, like you said, not many people would think of that. It's because he is kind of like a persona non grata in certain,
yes, but that's
traditional industry.
One other guy, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success, Frank Betcher.
Yes. Yeah.
That book is good. But his other book is way better, and it is not showing up over here. Quick scan. It's one that probably has few reviews on Amazon, but it is almost a complete insurance sales technical training. Mm-hmm. So you get a lot more of the insurance side. And another one, Ben Feldman's book 2. It's the again there is that down there? The Feldman Method. That one's good, but
And what's funny about that is it's a hard book to read because he wasn't just selling a simple product.
Right.
But if you read, it's more his work ethic that you get out of it. And he was a worker. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. But he's got another product. It's called the Creative Selling Solutions for the 90s. That was way more technical training for how to sell the Feldman method was like, here's how it all works. Here's my life story.
Discounted
here's how
dollars.
My whole method works.
Yeah.
The Creative Selling Solutions for the 90s or whatever it's called, much more technical. And I enjoyed that one a lot more. So I would look at all of those books, guys. There's tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Look at my videos for more ideas. Of course, if you're in final expense, check my book out, the Selling Final Expense book behind me. And then I did an interview book. It's very good and talked to a lot of top producers.
The last chapter in that interview book is the best chapter.
Is it the one with you and me? Save the best for last.
Hey, David, I think we're pretty much out of time here, but I thank you so much. And I was pulled up your name so that I could close and say, kind of read off, because I was just getting your website address, and I know you have Final Expense Agent Mentor, but all you have to do is type in David Duford.
Yeah, just go to davidduford.com.
And it's like, it's the whole page. It's like David Duford, Facebook and Instagram, and, and then there was another one, Buy Burial Insurance.
Yeah, that's like a retail sales site over the phone. I do a little bit there. It's not my primary focus.
It just goes on and on, Dave.
Yeah. It does. It really does.
So great work, man. And, you are a good representative of somebody who works hard. And, I admire your work. And I just want you to know that, my friend. And we are going to end it right here.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Take care. Bye.